Good afternoon. Welcome to the University of Miami. Thinking about talking today, I thought back to last Saturday night when I was in Canton and listened to Warren Sapp say, "It's a Cane thing, you just wouldn't understand." I'm going to start it off with another saying we say as University of Miami Hurricanes: it's great to be a Miami Hurricane. And I truly believe that's something that resonates throughout our program, whether it's a student, whether it's one of our alums, or those that just have an affinity to the university that just have branded to the U. My job at the University of Miami, I think, is to really continue to elevate us as a program. And so the things we look at as a program on a daily basis and the way we evaluate where we're at is looking at, are we winning ACC championships? I think that's something that's very important and something we talk with all of our student athletes about on a regular basis. I spoke with the football team last night. I'll speak with the volleyball team today. In all my conversations with all of our programs, with our coaches, with our staff, we talk about winning ACC championships. We were fortunate to get two this past year. It looks to build on the 7 that we have going forward in a conference that I truly believe is one of the top collegiate athletic conferences in the country. With that said, they are student athletes. It's important that we continue to focus on graduating our student athletes, and that's something, again, that we talk to our student athletes, our coaches, our staff, and our campus about on a regular basis. I think our young men and women do an excellent job, but it's something that we have to continue to push and make a priority for our program. And the third thing I think we really look at as an athletic program is how are we developing our young men and women into leaders. I think the reality of the situation is being an athlete alone makes you a leader. I talk to our student athletes about when they're on campus, when they're at the mall, when they're in the community, when they're at church, wherever they are, they're a leader. Once the U goes on, it never comes off, and it's something that, for me, resonates and has to resonate with all of them. They're constantly not only representing themselves, their team, our athletic department, our university, and all our alums and those that have an affinity to our program, and something that's important that we recognize they're always doing. And so we talk about the core values that we have as a program, and the 5 that we focus and we'll talk about on a more regular basis as we go forward. Obviously, one is we're about excellence. Everything we need to do and the decisions we make as a program are going to be about how do we achieve excellence. We're going to do it with integrity. Integrity is something that's very critical to me in terms of who we are as a program. I think with the U, you have to look at it as we're doing it as a family. And so family is one that we have to talk about on a regular basis. And I think for all those that know us, know that we do it with passion. Passion is something that really represents and shows who we are, and that every one of our athletes, our fans, all those that have a real passion for the U, let that feeling and emotion be shown. And finally, that we do it with respect. I think it's important that we respect every situation that we're in and how we look at it. So again, real quick, excellence, integrity, family, passion, respect. Those are all things that we talk about as a program. I started with winning ACC championships and the importance of athletic success. As I said, this past year was 2 ACC championships, something that I'm proud of. In addition to that, we had 15 of our 18 teams in the NCAA postseason. And I think we all here know that football could have been, but we made that choice to hold them out. So that's something that I'm proud of, but something that we need to build on. Getting to the NCAA should be an expectation of a program like ours. What we need to do is continue to support our programs to take the next steps. Whether it's the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, the Final Four, the National Championship, at the end of the day, we want to win national championships, and we need to continue to push that way. That's not something that's going to happen every year. We know national championships are special, and we're fortunate that we've celebrated 21 here at the University of Miami, but those are things we'll continue to push as a program. How do I do that? I provide the right operational support, and that's something that we have to continue to build on as a program, something that I talk with President Shalala about, I talk with our Board of Trustees about, and I talk with those that have an affinity for our program. If you really want to see us achieve the goals we talk about, there's a need to have support there for the program. Part of that is having competitive salaries for our coaches, whether head coaches or assistant coaches. To me, the stability in our coaching staff is important, and I'm very proud that we're able to have the coaches we do, and that we've been able to sign extensions for them and continue to have them in place as leaders of our program, because again, I think they're a big part of our program having the necessary success. Again, another way I think we get to championships, and one that I know is talked about often, is scheduling. We need to schedule our program to win championships. Hey, as fans, we all want to see the very best games. There isn't any question of that. At the same time, as fans, we all want to see national championships, and I think it's important as the lead administrator of our department, I'm looking at how do we put our teams in the best position. I think the best example we can look at is men's basketball. When you look at what Coach Larinaga has done with his strength of schedule, I think if we all just pulled the teams out from his non-conference schedule last year, nothing would stick out and say, hey, this is one of the top schedules in the country. This has a great strength of schedule. But it's understanding what you need to do to be the best to get yourself in that position. And again, I think it's something that we have to understand and evaluate. I think we have great coaches. I think it's something that you'll continue to see us do in the future. And some of them might raise questions. Some of you might want to see us play different teams. But the reality is we want to schedule our teams to be winning national championships, and I'm confident we'd all agree on that. We talked about graduating our student athletes, and how does that academic support make a difference for our program? It's important to me that we have the right support. And so behind us, and I think as you saw earlier, we have a tremendous new academic center. For those that saw the old one, it's apples and oranges. We're very proud of what we have to offer our young men and women who come and strive to earn a degree at one of the top institutions in the country and the top institution in the state of Florida. We want to thank the Schwartz family and all of those that made this facility a possibility, because it's something that's going to help separate us from our competition. It differentiates us. It gives us something else to recruit to. That's truly a remarkable facility, and I'm confident will help us as we strive to continue to graduate our student athletes and have academic success. I think earlier this week you saw, or I hope you saw, 156 of our student athletes were recognized by the ACC as all academic. Something we're very proud of and something we will continue to push. I only want to see those numbers go up because, as I said before, I'm serious about our academic support. I'm pleased to report this past year all of our teams were in position with the APR that I feel we scored very well. For those of you familiar with the APR report, 930 is a cut line. Below 930, there's certain consequences from postseason to scholarship losses, and those things are things that you have to deal with on a regular basis. Again, credit to our coaches, credit to Dave Wyman, our academic staff. Our student athletes are in great position, and actually 3 of our programs were recognized being in the top 10%, and the majority of our programs were scoring exceptionally well. We have a 93% graduation success rate. And again, that's something that I'm very proud of, because if we're serious about graduating our student athletes, that's a great way to measure where we're at as a program, and 93% is something that I think we can really brag about. And then again, it's prioritizing the importance of academics. I said last night I spoke to the football team. Later today I'll speak with our volleyball team as they get going. And one of my messages to them is go to class and make sure you're doing the best to be the best you can be academically. We all know they're here to focus on being the best they can be athletically, and I'm pleased to report that I'm confident they're all here to be the very best they can be academically, and that's why we have the numbers we do in academics. The third area that we talked about is building young men and women into leaders. And so as I look at that, the things that we have to really maybe look to expand and do better as a program is developing a life skills program, I think, in line with peer institutions. That's something you'll see us talk about. And so as I do these talks in the coming years, I think that's an area where you'll see us expanding our resources from a staffing and a financial perspective. Nutrition is something that's very critical. We need to continue to expand the role nutrition plays in the lives of our student athletes. If they're really going to be their best, we have to make sure we're educating them on what to put in their bodies, and we're providing them with the right meals and food choices to be the very best from a nutritional standpoint. We have a tremendous strength and conditioning staff, and one that we'll continue to focus our efforts and resources on. The other area that we'll want to look at developing is a professional sports council, and be able to educate the young men and women we have in our program that have opportunities to go on and compete in their sport professionally and earn a living. It's important for them to understand all the ins and outs of the decision that they're making, and that's something that we'll do. And the reality is that opportunity isn't going to be there for all. And so it's important that we have a strong career development program, because the vast majority of our 400 plus student athletes won't go on and play professionally, but they will go on to be leaders in our community. And so we want to do what we can to develop them from a professional aspect. So how do we do all that? Well, the first piece is right here behind us. Facilities are important. This gives us a pop. This gives us that wow factor. I think as all you walked in, you probably looked at this and said, wow, the University of Miami has something special. I'm amazed when I look at our new training room and what we have to offer there. As I touched on before, our academic center. And you go into the Damari Gallery of Champions and you go through the locker room and you see all the other things. These are great things for our program and put our program on par with where we need to be, I'm confident of that, to achieve national championships. So the Schwartz Center for Academic Excellence is obviously building that foundation of what we need to do as a program. We have to share the brand of the U. As you walk through here, one of the things that I credit our staff on doing a great job with is really creating a message of our past, who we are, celebrating our accomplishments, and really giving our student athletes a feel of what we are as a program. So what's next? We have to look at continuing to build on our facilities. Right now, as I said before, we don't have a lit practice field for football. That's something that I see us having in the future. I want to talk about having an indoor practice facility. I think that's something that's important for our future. As I said before, nutrition is something that's critical. Having an athletic dining component is something that's important to our future. And so as I have these conversations with you all in the future, I think those are things we'll be able to talk about and celebrate, just as we're celebrating the Schwartz Center here today. It's important for us to modernize our facility. And again, those are all things that really help us from a recruiting perspective and helps our student athletes be the very best they can be. And then it's continued investment in the facilities we have, because we have some great things here. And what my job is to make sure that we continue to put the right resources in those facilities to have them be their very best. We do that through revenue. We have to continue to generate revenue. The Hurricane Club and our development efforts are one of the key ways. I hope many of you saw this just recently. I want to say right around the end of July, we were over 6,000 Hurricane Club members. That is a tremendous step for a small private school. It still gives us a long ways to go. A lot of our peer institutions and those we're competing against are at much higher numbers. So our development staff has continued to push all of you to give a little bit more, to get a few more people to give, because giving to the Hurricane Club is a lifeline to our program to do all the things we talked about being our best. Capital gifts are key. Again, we talked about our facilities, and again, I want to recognize the Schwartz family because this is truly a transformational gift that they made here to our program that's going to have a significant impact on our future and something I feel good about. Right behind me is the bricks. So for those of you that didn't get to name the building or put a name on a room, you can be a part of this project by buying a brick. They start as little as $500, and we got plenty of space to go. And I'd like to see everyone in the Hurricane family, all those that consider themselves part of the Canes fam, to have their name right here on this walkway. As you can see, we have a long ways to go and a lot of bricks to place, but I know there's Hurricane fans out there that can fill this whole pathway up and a lot further down the road. Another area is our corporate partnerships. Hurricane Sports Properties does a tremendous job of getting the corporations in the community involved with us. In addition to that, I think we have brand leaders that we're partnered with. Coca-Cola, Gatorade, Nike are all parts of our program that we go forward. As I said to the Nike people last week, when I look at the swoosh and I look at the U, I look at two great brands and an image that I'd like to see us continue to play out more and more. It's important to me that we continue to do what we can to put our brand out there in the best light possible, because again, it's creating the right message of who we are as a program. There's a lot of programs that have marks out there. I will say this with great confidence. Anyone who has an understanding of athletics, you put the U out there, they know it's the University of Miami. The light is always brighter here in Coral Gables. That can be good and that can be bad, but it's something we need to embrace as a program, and I assure you we will. Licensing is another area that we look at. You look around, you see so many people in the U. That's something we want to continue to expand, and we will as a program, because it's an important revenue component. And the third being, and probably one of the most talked about, is ticket sales. Ticket sales is something that, as we all know here in the university and in Miami and at the University of Miami, generally tends to fluctuate based on where the team is at. I'm pleased to report there's a lot of excitement around the team this year because we're seeing our numbers move up significantly, and it's something that we're very excited about. The bottom line is we need to be financially responsible. We're part of the university campus. It's important to me that we have fiscal integrity in everything that we do. It's important that we utilize the key campus areas that we can have for expertise, because we aren't a program that can just spend money. We need to spend money very wisely, and we need to spend money very strategically. Part of that, you'll see a 5-year plan come out for us. As someone who's been around this program for a long time, I think many years we've looked to make sure we make our numbers meet at the end of the year, and credit all those that have been here before me. I think we've done a tremendous job in meeting our budgetary expectation for the university. At the same time, working with our senior leadership, and in particular Tony Hernandez, on really building a financial map for the future of our program, because I think it's something important for us to have, for us to be able to communicate to those on campus and to our fans who want to see us do well. And finally, as I started, as you can see, it's great to be a Miami Hurricane. I'm happy to answer any questions any of you might have. Okay.
Ready?
Sure.
Today's 8 weeks since you guys left Indy. Frustrating to you that you still don't have, most of these 15 minutes you spent talking about the future and the long-range plan, and there can obviously be a huge wrench thrown into that plan when you hear something. How frustrating is that you still don't know, and still don't know how bad whatever's coming could be?
I think, sure. The question was, how frustrating is it that the NCAA case hasn't played out? It's 8 weeks today, and wondering what my thoughts are on that. And so, I guess, Tim, what I would say is, obviously, as I said from the start, there's no one who's going to be happy to have this process over than I am. I will say I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm just not sure how close that light is. But as you touched on, it's been 8 weeks since we've been to Indy, and so I anticipated something that's going to happen in the near future. Beyond that, I wouldn't want to speculate on anything in terms of what the findings are, other than I will say I think we've done everything that we can do as an institution. We've had great leadership through this process from President Shalala on down, and I think we've taken the right and necessary steps to address the vast majority of the issues, many of which we've recognized and accepted, and we look forward to moving forward as a program with whatever findings come back. Next question.
Hey, Blake, follow up. I'm Charlie McCarthy, Fox Sports Florida. Do you expect a decision before the season starts?
I don't expect. The question was, do I expect a decision before the season starts? I don't expect anything. What I hope is that we have a decision before the season starts, but I respect the process, and whenever the decision comes, we'll handle it and address it at that point. Next question. Anyone else? Yes.
What's one of your biggest challenges since you've been here?
I think the question was, what's been my biggest challenge since I've been here? I think it's a combination of things, Susan. I think one of the big challenges is we're dealing with a major NCAA issue, and the reality is that has an unknown out there that we just have to recognize as part of our daily operations, and it's not operating as normal. I think the other challenge is trying to really get us to a level of funding and doing things the right way as a program. I think a lot of times, because of so many great things we have here, the tremendous amount of athletes that we have in the area that love the University of Miami, that choose to come here, the great academic institution that we have, the great league that we're in, the great tradition and history we have, I think sometimes we haven't put all the pieces of the puzzle in place. This is a big piece of the puzzle going in place here behind us, and for all of you who saw what we had before, this puts us on par with the schools that we're competing against. Doesn't put us at the top. We're not at the bottom anymore. And again, those are the challenges that I face, is how do I have us to be able to not have those things be negatives and hopefully have them be positives.
Like when you left Indianapolis, did you think you'd have a decision by now? By 8 weeks out?
I guess I'll say I hoped. I didn't think, again, I think it's too hard to put any type of date on the calendar and say, okay, we're going to have the decision by this date. It's recognizing that this is a process. I think for all of us at the University of Miami that have a passion for the University of Miami, we'd like this process we'd have liked it to be over months ago. But that's not the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is things take time, and you have to let them play their course, and whenever that is, we're ready to move forward and address whatever issues there are.
Blake, how disappointed were you about the funding issues with Sun Life Stadium, and how does that affect the long-term future of your program, and are there any long-term options other than Sun Life Stadium that you guys are looking at?
Well, first, I think long-term options other than Sun Life Stadium, there isn't anything out there that I know of. If anyone is aware of a 45,000 to 75,000 seat stadium that they think we could play at that's within a 20-mile radius, I definitely would be interested in talking to them. But in terms of the funding, I would say this. I think the improvements that would have been made to the stadium would have been a tremendous boost for our program. I don't want to debate how they should have been funded and all those things. Really, that's something for other people to decide how that works. What I would say is, for those that were wondering, the University of Miami would have viewed those improvements as a tremendous plus to our program. Would have created an atmosphere, I think, that It's never going to replace the Orange Bowl, but would have moved our fans closer, and I think given them a little more of that feel, it would have been great for our program to have so many of those amenities. I mean, the reality is it's over 20 years old as a stadium, and it can use some new improvements. And so as a program, I was disappointed that those improvements were put on hold. In terms of how they're funded, I'm hoping that's something that works out, because again, all those things would be big pluses for us.
Is it just not financially viable for this institution to look at some point having its own facility somewhere?
I would say at some point, I would say it's not financially viable for us to do it right now. We're in a 20-year lease, or we have 20 years left on a 25-year lease at Sun Life Stadium, and there isn't anything else for us to look at right now. As great as it would be to have a facility on campus, we just don't have the land on campus to have a facility, and it's someone who lives right off US 1. I don't think we could handle the traffic getting up and down US 1. So, right now we're at Sun Life Stadium. It hosted the national championship last year. It's hosted Super Bowls in the past. I'm sure it'll host them again in the future. And as an NFL team, we're in a pretty good place. Any other questions? All right. Thanks all for coming out.
Thanks, Mike.